everyone, it's Cass. Welcome back to my channel, What Cass Read. Today I'm going to bring you my spoiler-free review of The Dragon Republic, written by R.F. Kuang. The Dragon Republic is the second book in a grimdark military fantasy trilogy, The Poppy War, and it follows probably a couple of months after the events of the Poppy War. We find ourselves back with our main character, Rin. This whole book takes an interesting look at what happens after wartime, because what happens after wartime may not necessarily mean peacetime for the country. So our character of Rin finds herself back with a couple of her familiar Synagardian classmates as they navigate the aftermath and the after effects of the Third Poppy War in the end of book number 1. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the world building. At the end of book number 1, I was under the impression that we were going to have a lot more magic in the second book, given how much Rin's powers had grown throughout the whole first novel, and her use of opioids to reach the Pantheon and access the power of the gods. However, that is not actually necessarily true in this second book. This second book, we focus a lot more, like I said, on the aftermath of war. What happens when there's a power vacuum, when people no longer trust the leadership of the country. Instead of getting more magical knowledge, we get more knowledge about the country, and we get more knowledge about the political powers at work inside Nicara. So we're learning a lot more about the adults of this world, because Rin spent half of the book in the Poppy War at the Synagard Academy, whereas now she's in the real world dealing with real warlords from the different provinces. We spend a lot of time with the Dragon Province, as you might be able to decipher from the title of this book. And one particular place that we spend a lot of time on is actually ships, and there's a lot more naval backdrops to this book than I had anticipated originally when I went into this. So we get to see a couple of different types of warships that are built. There's some of the bigger ones, there's some small ones for maneuverability, and Rin ends up finding herself in pretty much any kind of ship setting throughout this whole book. So that's something that I didn't quite expect, and I actually really enjoyed that. Now, I definitely want to talk about the characters. We still follow from the perspective of our main character, Rin, and how she is coping with the aftermath and the after effects of what happened in the Third Poppy War. At the beginning of this book, and at the end of the Poppy War, it's not really a surprise to anybody if you're following along for this second book review, but Rin is dealing with, she struggles heavily with her opioid addiction. She is extremely addicted to the drug. She feels that this drug is the only way that she can cope, and she's angry. She's angry all the time. She's even angrier than she was in the first book. And processing all of the things that she saw in the Third Poppy War, all of the things that she has yet to do, and what does her role in the aftermath of war, what does that really mean? I can't say that we see a lot of growth from Rin. Me personally, I just didn't really find her to have a very steady stream of growth. I would say that she is a lot more nearsighted than I remember her being. We don't get a lot of the big picture scale of what's happening on the outside of this book because we are so in Rin's mind and the kinds of injustices that she feels are brought upon herself, the struggles that she's dealing with. We're not really stepping outside of that, so we don't see a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of growth off of Rin. The things that are exciting for me for Rin are she's learning to rely upon the people in her life. And I really did enjoy one of the particular elements with another character. I don't want to get into spoilers for that because that's a big spoiler. But she's learning to rely a little bit more and more on people. And I found that to be like the main redeeming quality of Rin throughout this book. We do see her connecting with a lot more of her Synagardian classmates. One in particular was Kite. I don't want to talk about some of the other ones because I don't want that to be a spoiler of us finding them throughout the story. To me, that was probably Rin's strength, is learning to let her guard down around her Synagardian classmates, because they have this connection from before the Third Poppy War that really brings them together, that they're able to be honest with one another. And so I really liked seeing a lot of Kite and some of her other classmates. Now, Kite himself he is also battling with a lot of what he has had to do from the Third Poppy War. He's just as angry as Rin, but he is not expressing it in the same exact way as Rin. So it was really fun to have the two of them back together. Now overall, I did rate this book 4 out of 5 stars. I actually struggled with whether or not I would give this like a 3.5 or a 4 star, and after I finished the book, I thought about it. I thought about some of the books that I felt like were true 3 stars, and this one was better than that, so that's where I bumped it up to the 4-star category. The things that I felt that were a little bit lacking for me was the pacing once again. A lot of this book is spent as more of like a military fantasy, military campaign, and then the very ending chunk is when a lot more action takes place. And I feel like maybe that's R.F. Kuang's signature, or maybe that's her formula for these books that she's following, because the same exact thing happened in the Poppy War. The first part where we're spending at Cinegarden, she was learning all of these different skills. This one, likewise, she's spending it with the Dragon Province. She's spending it with certain members of different soldier groups, and it's just a lot more campaigning through more of the book than I anticipated. But the ending was quite exciting. As with the Poppy War, this book does have trigger warnings for rape, violence associated with war, drug use, drug abuse, PTSD. That would be the other one that I would say would be another trigger for some people. It's not as alarming as what happened in the Poppy War. So I think if you're already past that point in the Poppy War and you feel like you want to continue on with this series, then you should be fine reading this book, because I didn't feel like anything was as gruesome as what we saw in the Poppy War. So like I said, really great second installment to the series. I'm looking forward to the Burning Gods coming out later this year. I think where we are now, the setup was really great for book number 3, and the setup was really great to bring us to the final chapter where we see Rin and her classmates. So I look forward to that release coming out, I think it's in November. Alright, I actually will be filming a spoiler-filled video because there are some things that I wanted to discuss. As of filming this review, I actually finished the book just last night, so a lot of things are still really fresh in my mind. So if you've already read The Dragon Republic, go ahead and hop on over to my spoiler-filled discussion review video, and we can talk about the book there. But otherwise, if you haven't yet read The Dragon Republic, let me know in the comment section below if it's something that you're hoping to pick up. Otherwise, you can follow me on my social media if you want. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. It's at whatcassread, the same as this channel, so it should be super easy for you to find. And then of course my Goodreads link, that is always listed down below for you. Otherwise, you know how these videos end. I'll talk to you later. Bye.